Counter-Narrative News, bringing you daily news today on Monday the 13th of February 2023. Going to India and Pakistan, and on the Pakistani side of the British colonial imposed partition border in Pakistani Punjab in a village called Nankana, a man who has before been involved in some kind of vandalism of the holy book of Islam, the Quran, was up to the similar antics again, and unfortunately a mob attacked the police station in which he was being held in a cell and took his life. There is a controversy over the so-called blasphemy law, which many argue is a legal justification de facto in which encourages people to engage in such violent and sectarian type of behavior. Also on the other side of the British imposed border, the Indian state with the far-right supremacist regime of the BJP in Modi is playing out its own mirror image of Western white supremacy, as is happening the same on the Pakistani side in terms of its oppression against the oppressed working classes in general, the so-called lower castes and tribals and Muslims and others. Very sorry state of affairs, as these are all legacies of the British colonial rule, and particularly its border, which was very much imposed by the British to create this type of instability between a similar group of people. In the case of Kashmir and Punjab, the same people for millennia, and ripping them apart and enabling the British and the West to maintain the subcontinent in this type of relative paralysis. But to some good news from the region, the women's teams of Pakistan and India have been playing in Cape Town at the T20 World Cup, in which India won by 7 wickets, and we wish both teams the very best. Going to Turkey and Germany, in relation to the earthquake, Germany has offered so-called quote-unquote temporary visas to Turkish and Syrian families impacted by the earthquake there. It's a shame that Germany has agreed to only give temporary visas which last only 3 months, considering the humanitarian disaster which the earthquake has resulted in, with millions being homeless in freezing temperatures and tens of thousands have been killed. There was around 118,000 Syrians before 2015 resident in Germany. Now there's nearly 1 million, and there are nearly 3 million Turkish people living in Germany, with half of which keeping their Turkish nationality. Germany has long-standing migrant labor deals with the Turkish state going back decades. In all of the earthquake situation as well, it's very important that one highlights the situation of the oppressed Kurdish nation and people, especially within the Turkish borders of the earthquake. Absolutely, Ankara is using this situation opportunistically to oppress the Kurds further, economically, culturally and politically, but the Kurdish people are a very resistant people and they're pushing back on that. In news in terms of the far-right Tory or Conservative Party, there's a new deputy chairman, a MP called Lee Anderson. He was a Labour Party member and councillor until circa 2015-2016, but he's more infamous for his far-right views and advocating people should be antisocial elements in community should be put in tents and picking potatoes, and just very much a far-right posture in terms of the culture wars and all of this new far-right nationalism, which has been emerging now for years. He's causing some controversy because he's the new deputy chairman and because of his political views. However, the Tory leadership itself, in terms of its flagship policies like the Rwanda expulsion policy against legitimately seeking refuge and asylum seekers coming to Britain, is the type of policy that the British far-right never would have dreamt of ever before. So in terms of the real far-right politics, that's very firmly embedded in the Tory leadership and in its policies as we go forward. On yesterday, that's the 12th of February, back in 1965, MalcolmX, very important leading radical civil rights figure and Black Power leader from the USA, visited England and the West Midlands towns of Smethwick, in which he visited Asian and African residents, giving solidarity to them against them facing racist discrimination by racist landlords and by political class in that area. MalcolmX visits were to England made headline news across the country. He spoke at the Oxford Union debate, and he met grassroots activists, sharing his concept of united working class black resistance as he espoused in the message to the grassroots. So a really important anniversary there. And finally, really sad news that still in his early 50s, Trugoy or Plug 2 or David Jolicouer from DeLaSoul, from the pioneering hip-hop and rap group DeLaSoul, has passed away. He had some health problems around heart disease, and which is sad considering his name is Jolicouer, which if one's not mistaken, translated from French, means happy heart. But he did absolutely make the hearts and the minds and the souls of so many people inspired and happy through his music, with his other band members, Pastor Noose and Maceo, forming this pioneering collective called DeLaSoul in the late 80s. David Jolicouer, otherwise known as Trugoy or Plug 2 from DeLaSoul, was born in 1968 in Brooklyn, in New York, in the USA. He's of American Haitian heritage. And being born in 1968, it was arguably the most radical year in the post-Second World War period, very much in terms of the insurrectionary, radical Black Power socialist movements, particularly the Black Panther Party, were at its peak then. So people of David Jolicouer, Trugoy's generation, grew up in the ashes of the US state crushing that particular upsurge of revolutionary and community working class struggle led by the black community in the form of the Black Panther Party and others, including the Revolutionary Action Movement, the All African People's Revolutionary Party, and Republic of New Africa, and many others. So really what Trugoy and DeLaSoul pioneered was like a continuation of that movement, but in the cultural and musical frame, literally coming out of the poverty around housing and employment and education and infrastructure, which working class people have been imposed by the US ruling classes and the political economic system there. And this beautiful culture emerges of art, of dance, of music, of poetry in what is known as hip-hop. And DeLaSoul really encompassed that, and their creativity around their first hit album, 3 Feet High and Rising, in the late 80s, and the hits like Me, Myself and I. And Me, Myself and I is very much arguing that black youth should be whoever they want to be and not be defined and pushed or pressured into anything, to be themselves in a beautiful, creative, diverse manner. And that's very much what DeLaSoul and their greater collective of the so-called native tongues, encapsulating other groups like A Tribe Called Quest and others, in this real diverse, celebratory, colourful mosaic of working class black-led hip-hop culture. And more recently, the DeLaSoul band have reflected upon that time then, and have been encouraging young people today to be as creative as they can, not to be constrained by the contemporary capitalist colonial cultural norms, but to break out of that. And we would encourage people to look at the discography of DeLaSoul and enjoy it. There's so much vibrancy and beautifulness, and we send solidarity and love to the DeLaSoul community and the comrades and friends and family of Trugoy, Plug 2, David Jolicouer. That was Counter Narrative News, bring you daily news today. Please do continue to support us. We would like to just signpost you also to our week in review from yesterday, which explores further Malcolm X's visit to Smethwick and what that means in terms of Brexit Britain today. Really happy to say that we're nearly up to 150 subscribers. Please do continue to sharing our platform and daily news and analysis service by encouraging others to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Twitter on _CNN. And we wish you a fantastic day.